What's going on here? Stanley, I have no explanation for the uncertain nature of the hole's length. Here, let's try something. Let's pop back up to the top, and we'll see if it gets any shorter. Well, there it is. The shame of my lie has come to haunt me. Not only is the hole not infinite, but it's barely even a hole at this point. It's more of a concavity, or even a very aggressive divot. How is this still appealing to you? I know you're obsessed with holes, but at this depth, I just can't see this scratching the itch. Oh, who am I to judge? You just do whatever it is you're here to do and hit the teleport button when you're ready to move on. Is the
왜 텔레포트 안 시켜줘?
teleport button not working? You sure? Well, I mean, I really don't have an explanation. It was
이 새끼
working just a
장난치네.
moment ago. Try it again.
이 새끼 봐라.
Still nothing? Well, I suppose there is one thing I can do to fix this. I'm out. Goodbye, Stanley. You couldn't bear to be away from the hole, and now you'll get more time with it than you could ever have asked for. It's a win for everyone. You get to be with the hole, I get to do literally anything else.
어?
Take care, Stanley. I hope you and the hole
어디
have a
가?
wonderful rest of eternity together.
그래라? 갔냐? 이게 무슨 소리입니까? 뭐냐? 어? 어? 아니 씨발 이걸 내가 구멍에 한 번도 안 내려갔으면 못 보는 거였잖아 이거. 뭔데 이거? 아이 존나 웃기네 이거. 진짜 지랄을 한다 씨발. 신나는 노래 틀어줘. 홀. 홀. 씨발 뭐야 이게. 진짜 개씨 개지랄하네 씨발. 뭔가 이거를
Stanley?
그래.
Stanley!
예.
Stanley!
예.
Oh, good, you're awake. It seems you had sort of dozed off there, drifting away into dreamland. But we can't have that, Stanley, because this hole is just so darn fascinating that I want you to be wide awake for every second of it. You don't want to miss a single moment. So how about if I just pop in from time to time and wake you up to keep you really, truly focused on the hole? From the looks of things, you and I will have many, many years here.
아, 이 개새끼
And
진짜.
I'm looking forward to all of it.
진짜 끝까지
Stay
이러네.
alert, Stanley.
Oh.
I'll be back. Toodlepip.
이러. 아이 개새끼. 오.
Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new features.
아, 양동이 치워 이제. 필요. 상품 코드에 QR 코드는 왜? 그래, 너 어차피 내 핸드폰으로 찍어봐야 되는 거잖아. 버튼 치워버렸네. 에휴, 속 좁은 놈. 찍고 싶은 사람은 찍어. 난 귀찮아. 응? 도전하러 가자고? 재밌는 게 나을 것 같다고? 자, 찍었어? 거의 끝없는 구멍. 존나 웃기네. 레버를 당기기만 하면 도전 과제를 준다고 하셨지요?
Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
진짜? 진짜 안 줄 거야? 개 같은 놈. 뭔데 이건? 이것도 바뀌어 있니? 에이씨. 우와, 이건 뭐야?
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
와.
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
나가보자.
All right. Have you seen everything you wanted
다 봤어.
to? Ready to move on now? So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know
별론데?
it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul.
이거 왜 이렇게 큰
It's
거야?
going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2. Well, I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
미친. 아니 근데 씨발 그 와중에 잘 만들긴 했어. 뭐냐? 야, 뭐 이런 것도 다. 요. 뭐야?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
뭐지? 양동.
Stanley picked up the
아
bucket.
꺼져 씨발. 아 꺼져. 아이씨 화면 가려 이거. 아씨.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be.
양동이가?
And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
이렇게 딱해 보이냐?
And so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
말 들어줘 볼까?
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion
나 주고
and
싶은데?
lifelong friend.
싫어.
Can't hand it
줄래.
over. Oh no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends? That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you feel the same coming to a staircase? Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
어?
You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
너 하나 찾을 때마다 이럴 거니? 어이가 없네. 내 양동이 좀 가져가라. 제발.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew?
양동이가 보는 걸 알고 있었던 걸까요?
Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
둔둔둔둔둔둔둔둔. 피규어 있었어? 아이씨 못 봤어.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate.
딴짓거리 하느라고 못 봤네.
It would be
아.
all Stanley could do to keep himself together.
아,
if not for the
아쉬워라.
bucket, soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
다시 올라가자고? 아니 뭐 그 굳이 다 모아야 돼? 아 너네도
Wait,
참.
Stanley said to the bucket. Can we go back up? When I was pressing those keypad buttons, there was something very intriguing about the number 3. I want to go back so I can try pressing the number 3 again. The bucket said nothing.
숫자 3을 누르라 그러네. 왜 그러지?
Here we are, said Stanley. Now I'm going to try out that number 3 button. He took the bucket over to the keypad and began absolutely slamming on the number 3 over and over and over. Well, he said, the number 3 is such a special button. I'm having the time of my life. Stanley looked expectantly at the bucket, but the bucket remained silent. This was a shock to Stanley, who had always felt such a connection with the bucket. How was this not as exciting to the bucket as it was to him? Once Stanley had had enough of the number 3,
아 씨발.
back in the elevator.
예병.
Perhaps the bucket had missed something. Perhaps it had not seen how much joy Stanley got from slamming the number 3 repeatedly. A hint
뭔가
of regret nagged in the back of Stanley's mind.
간소화됐네.
Should he Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
아 여기 탈출 마렵네. 아. 내가 근데 모든 엔딩을 해볼 순 없어.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was
저기
being
저렇게 막
videotaped,
낙서해 놓은 건 뭘까?
monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
막 뭐 깨져 있는 건지 낙서한 건지 뭐가 돼 있네.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do?
와, 근데
Not
직원
want to
진짜
do in the
많다.
first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind.
600명인데?
No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it.
왜 자꾸
His own
양동이한테
life in
뭐라
someone
그러는 거야?
else's control? Never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power.
드디어
over
눌러보는
another human
버튼인가?
life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
아까 온 해봤으니까.
Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over? Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once
오,
they
빛이다,
stepped through
빛!
this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country
뭐야?
on earth. Both of them wanted to
아니,
begin watching a movie.
아,
any
얘
movie,
말대로
but
하면
then
진짜-
stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple
나갈 수
life
있는
they
거였어?
envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support, and to...
왜 안 열려?
What? Wait. What was
뭐야?
happening? Why had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed? An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty, until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave.
지랄하네, 씨발.
He himself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket.
지랄봐. 양동이가 언제 그랬어?
No. Stanley can't leave this place. Not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped.
아,
Very soon
지랄하네, 씨.
he was about to find out.
아이, 진짜 개지랄, 씨발. 아,
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
이제 또 양동이 엔딩으로 싹 다 바뀐 거야? 양동이 들고 하고 또 안 들고 한 거, 또 양동이 있는데 안 든 거랑 또 다른 거 아니야? 그지? 양동이 안 드니까 아무 말도 안 하네? 뭐냐?
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
뭐지? 말이 현저하게 줄었다? 저것들을 어떻게 찾을 것인가? 완벽주의자의 직감을 믿어라? 이 위치를 알려주네요. 벽난로 근처. 빨강과 파랑 모두 어딘가에서. 계단과 관련되어 할 일. 넓은 방. 많은 상자. 지가 열었어. 내가 안 열었어.
Oh, no. Oh,
알았어.
I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm coming to a staircase. Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Another miniature Stanley figurine.
왠지 여기 있을 것 같았어.
You know, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini stands? Stanley figs? Or what about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt. But Stanley
씨발 이러면 죽는 엔딩이잖아. 씨발
the
잠깐만.
possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that it had been on the tip of his
결국에는 말을 다
tongue.
들었어야
He
되는
just
거네.
hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what?
어차피 나 양동이 안 들고 가서 저 아마 엔딩 똑같을 거야.
Someone was following Stanley. He was sure of it. If he checked over his shoulder now, he would surely catch them. It was only a matter of time.
여기 어딘가에 숨겨놨나 피규어를? 안 보이는데. 근데
Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms.
일단 양동이를
and a wave
드는
of
게
comfort rushed over him.
오리지널 엔딩도 다 안 보긴 했다고요. 저 다 안 볼 겁니다.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to
다
his
안 봐요.
chest and entered the door on his left.
찾으니까 체크되네. 그러면 이제 넓은 방 많은 상자 이거를 내가 안 했네. 저게 두 번째로 발견하는 순서인 것 같은데 저걸 안 했네요.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
아까 사장실 벽난로 얘기도 했었던 것
Stepping
같은데.
into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned
여기?
to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket.
이게 뭔가 열릴 것 같긴 하다, 그지?
Darkest of hours,
뭔가
did the
나무판으로 돼
bucket's
있는 게.
warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would. And he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the pin number for the keypad was 2845.
이 어느 각도에서 보면 뭐 숫자라던가 뭐 그런 건 아니겠지? 그렇게까지 만들어 놓진 않았겠죠?
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845. Two, 8, 4, 5. Forgot, but it turns out that the panel's emergency override kicked in, and the door just opened all by itself.
Wow.
And Stanley got the hell along with the story. Well, whoop-de-doo.
왜? 싫어. 내가 열 거야. 고장. 그럼 벽난로에 있다는 게 아까 말한 이거 얘기한 거였나 보다.
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness
마렵다.
that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
스킨 마려워. 이번에는 탈출구로 나가볼까? 김항세 기빨려 하는 거 왜 좋냐고.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read.
이거 들고 나가면 뭐가 다르지 않을까?
This passageway had the word escape written on it. The truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death.
여기 압사하는 곳이었잖아.
The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward
환상의
into a
양동이
very painful death
오세요.
for each of them.
난 믿어. 양동이가 날 지켜줄 거라고 믿어. 양동아. 근데 아까도 보면은 양동이의 죽음이 점점 다가온다고?
Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to
어림도
embrace
없지.
the bucket. But what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself.
양동아,
and he sort of
슬슬
kicked himself
보여줘야
for
돼.
wasting so much time carrying a bucket
양동아.
everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end as it was crushed violently to death. It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
위대한. 당신은 어느 지식 벼랑 끝에 서 있습니다. 양동이와 마찬가지로 사람은 종종 내면이 텅 빈 것 같은 마치 동굴과 같은 공허함을 느낍니다. 하지만 앞에 있는 전시를 통해 내면은 풍만해지고 풍요로워지고 단단해질 것입니다. 양동이와 그것의 역사에 대한 지식은 우리가 가질 수 있는 유일한 참된 지식입니다. 여기서 배운 지식을 가지고 세상 밖으로 나갈 것입니까? 전시의 내용이 받아들이기 힘들더라도 열린 마음으로 받아들이시기. 씨발 결국엔 양동이랑 같이 죽는 내용 하나 포함된 거 아니야?
Can you see how
뭐야?
arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
야 양동이 올라간다. 오 존나 신성해. 지랄을 하는구나. 아 이렇게 해놓으니까 엔딩을 다시 볼만하긴 하네.
No man can own a bucket.
잘
and
해놓긴
certainly not
했네요.
a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
매달린 양동이래. 이거 무한한 구멍 그건가? 뭐야 씨발.
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong. Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision.
이거 어떻게 해봐야 돼? 이게 다시 시작하는 게 뭔가 의미가 있는 거예요? 양동이 찌그러지는 소리 났어. 개작살 났는데요, 바닥?
Wait, Stanley thought to himself. Am I sure that the orders stopped coming in? How is that possible? They never stopped. Surely I was mistaken.
뭐지?
No, the orders were still missing. For now.
여기 어딘가에 피규어가 하나 있을 텐데. 아, 저 양동이를 또 들고 나가라고? 너가 뭔데 도대체? 응?
The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket.
응? 끝났다 여기서?
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
모르겠네요. 이제 아무 소리.
Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet.
에이,
It wants the
반복인데?
bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs
내려가
to
보자.
the boss's office.
이 엔딩도 뭔가 달라지는지
Stanley just
봐야겠네.
couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left
근데 이거
his
말
post
한참
during
들어야
work
되지.
hours. He might be fired for that. And in
멈춰!
such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk?
스킵
All because he
버튼.
believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze. but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me.
뭔가 말에 양동이가 추가가 됐어.
He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good will come from this.
내 엉덩이!
Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him. Stanley! Stanley, it's me, the bucket. Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket. Come to me, Stanley. Find me. He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
뭐야?
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself.
민정이지라고 그냥 생각했어요.
And she backflipped all the way to work.
공중제비 씨발. 어? 어?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
뭐냐?
Warmth spread through Stanley's arms. With the bucket in his arms again, he was home.
어? 아예 바뀌었네? 뭐지?
Stanley pressed the bucket upon every little thing in the office. Nothing responded to the bucket's touch, but it did little to discourage Stanley's belief in the magic of the bucket.
클릭 소리가 강아지 소리로 바뀌었는데요. 이거 씨야. 스피커로 보고 있는 집에 있는 사람들 지금 애완동물 다 깨우겠는데? 고양이도 그렇고 강아지도 그렇고 웬 낯선 강아지 소리가.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest.
아, 그놈의 왼쪽 문은 자꾸 왜 들어가라는 거예요? 여보세요? 어쩌라고요?
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the
뭔가
bucket turned out to
여기에도
be correct? Was this better than the meeting room?
하나도 없네.
Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, no, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
일로 왔는데 어쩔 거임?
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
좋아.
Good.
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this
여긴 뭐야?
obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked. No, stop. Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point.
이 구역의 양동이
how can
반입
you think it was
금지라고?
okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
네.
Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin.
네.
Item 1. Is this a bucket?
네.
Incorrect. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket. Item 2. Is this a bucket?
예.
Incorrect. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an
잠깐만, 저 뭐야?
actual
이
bucket.
새끼? 이 새끼? 야, 씨발, 이 새끼! 양동이!
3. Is this a bucket?
이 양동이, 씨발, 뭐야, 이거? 요? 이 새끼 양동이일까요? 예. 오.
Correct. This is a bucket. Item 4. Is this a bucket?
아니요?
Correct. This is a tractor and not a bucket. To be honest, I just sort of put this one in here as a gimme, but I was starting to get concerned that even this might be too much for you. Thank you for not making me look like an idiot. Okay, next one. Is this a bucket?
아니요? 아 씨발 왜?
This is a bucket.
왜 설명은 안 해주고 왜 그냥 양동이라 그래 개새끼야.
Item 6. Is this a bucket?
예.
Trick question. Both. Gotcha.
예?
Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. Should be around here somewhere.
나 안 할래. 예.
Okay, you and I both know there isn't anything here. And I don't appreciate the implication that nothing is a bucket when we both clearly know that a bucket is something, and therefore nothing could possibly be something. Unless, in your twisted mind, have you somehow convinced yourself that a bucket is nothing? Answer me straight, Stanley. Do you believe that nothing is a bucket?
아니요.
You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence, and yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket?
예.
Stanley, I can't keep doing this.
왜 못 누르게 얘기해,
All
새끼야.
I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely. Okay, here we go.
못했쥬.
What happened? Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my God, I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go.
이제 와서 이해가 안 가는군.
다시 정상으로 돌아온 거
Someone
뭔데?
was following Stanley. He was sure of it. If he checked over his shoulder now, he would surely catch them. It was only a matter of time.
누가 날 따라온다는 말로 바뀌었는데? 뭐지?
Stanley picked up the bucket and smiled. He'd never be alone again, not truly alone, not with the bucket around.
근데 뭐야, 이게 이제 뭔가 엔딩은 없고 계속 이런 식으로 다른 엔딩 찾아다니는 거예요?
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
나 이제 슬슬 그만하고 싶은데? 좀 질려버렸는걸? 전부 찾으면 보상이 있을 것이다? 없다 그랬는데 분명히 2개만 더 찾으면 되는 건가? 넓은 방 많은 상자 빨강과 파랑 모두 어딘가에서
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
너무 반복이라 좀 질려 이제. 아까 원부터 다시 해서 그런가 봐. 여기가 왜 열리지? 어머? 아까 여기 안 열렸었는. 어머? 어머? 갑자기? 올라가고 있는 거 맞지 너? 이 게임은 존나 계속 의심하게 돼. 어디까지 가는 거예요 이거? 여기가 위층인가 보다. 뭔가 잘못됐다. 뭐지? 이거 움직이는 척만 하는 엘리베이터인가? 사장실 문 닫힐 때 뒷걸음질로 나오는 거요? 그런 거 돼요?
Stepping in.
어? 고장이 나버렸네? 어? 뭐지? 어? 다 열렸는데? 이게 원래 닫혀있던 곳인데 다 열렸네? 뭐지? 나한테 말도 안 거네? 여기도 안 열려있네? 이 게임은 버그 난 건지 의도된 건지 알 수가 없다고? 그러게. 더 이상 나한테 말도 안 걸어요. 스탠! 이러다 말하는데? 어? 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 뭐야 이게? 어? 갑자기? 내 강아지 모드 어디 갔어 근데? 씨발 잠깐만. 아. 이거 씨발. 늘어나긴 하네. 그래 일단 올라가 보자. (759) 오! (760) 탈출 포드 발사구역. 응? 뭐야? 어? 어? 헐 뭐야? 왜 이래? 어? 뭐야 씨발. 양동이만 보낸다고? 아이 지랄. 아니 씨발. 어? 아치. 나 힘들어. 나 피곤해. 나 졸려. 그만하자 이제.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to
마지막으로
the
사장실
meeting room.
가서
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
양동이 안 들고 가서 내가 탈출 포드 타고 날아가고 끝내자.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors,
양동이
he entered
없어졌다고요?
the door on his left.
그 새끼 혼자 도망갔어? 아니 근데 진짜 조금 게임 조금씩 바뀌긴 해. 씨발.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Okay, I think we all...
뭐지? 이번엔 뭔가 진짜 찐 엔딩이 열리려고 했는데 내가 안 들어간 건가? 뭐지? 막아놨네? 뭐지? 모르겠다. 생각하기를 멈추기로 했다. 난 탈출 포드로 가겠어. 그래, 뇌 빼고 하자. 내 마지막 엔딩이다. 난 여기서 나가야겠어. 진짜 없어졌네. 미친 양동이만 혼자 나갔네. 어지럽네. 그래도 혹시 모르니까 한번 열어봤습니다. 영차 영차 계속 한 번쯤은 문 닫히기 전에 나가보고 싶다는 생각을 했었는데 그걸 사장실에서는 안 해봤네. 정작 쩝. 이젠 설마 탈출 포드가 없는 건 아니겠지? 있네? 뭐야? 이러면 땡큐지. 아 씨발. 아니 존나 성의 없네. 애니메이션도 하나 없어?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
자,
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
오늘
Perhaps he
스탠리
had simply
패러블은
missed a
여기까지
memo.
하겠습니다. 아, 저는 더 못하겠네요.
No
재밌어요.
matter how
재밌네요.
hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
끝.